I'd like to begin by mentioning some challenges, opportunities, and accomplishments that this class has experienced. If we think about the challenges, think about the first day of class. It was also my first day of class. We were all bright-eyed, anxious, and eager to begin. We were all wrought with anxiety, nervousness, and stress. But as time passed, we got to know each other. We knew each other's strengths and weaknesses. Some of us suffered through sicknesses, deaths, and divorces as a group. And just when you could see the finish line, coronavirus struck. We left the classroom on March 12th for spring break, and we transitioned to remote learning after that. You guys adapted, you remained engaged, and completed the semester through Blackboard Live Collaborates. You managed to complete your group senior projects, which was a huge adjustment for some, but those projects came out great. Clinical was put on hold for safety reasons, which created sleepless nights and uncertain graduation plans. But here we are now, and though it doesn't seem like it, these situations led to opportunity. Let's remember that coronavirus happened in the year 2020. You had some unique opportunities that not every previous class have. We have the technology, we have connectivity, and we have Wi-Fi in order to complete didactic courses remotely. If this has happened 20 years ago, you could not have done this. You experienced history in the making. You've learned firsthand what it takes to get through a global pandemic. You've watched firsthand how healthcare shifted priorities to adjust for the influx of patients while keeping the community safe. You learned how to be flexible, creative, and understand there is always another way to accomplish your goals. You saw a field hospital erected in a matter of days in your city. You have added the word social distancing and PPE to your daily vocabulary. And you have a new accessory to add to your wardrobe, various face masks of different styles and colors. These things led to your accomplishments. On the outside, it may seem things ended on a flat note, but in contrast, you have endured and showed promise for the field of radiology. You will be the leaders for the future radiographers who will look to you to guide them through similar situations occurring in healthcare in the future. They will seek your guidance and expertise because of the unique experience you encountered, because they will know the graduating class of 2020 was like no other. You have endured through the most unique situations possible, and you succeeded. I would like to give you a handshake, a high five, or a fist bump, but I will have to do that virtually.
Instead, just know that when you are out working in the field of radiology and our paths cross again, I know you are some of the strongest radiographers out there because you graduated in the class of quarantine 2020. The success of the Radiologic Technology program and its students is the combined effort of many professionals. The faculty of this program are dedicated to preparing these graduates to be compassionate and competent in medical imaging professionals who will be caring for members of this community. At this time, I would like to acknowledge members of our adjunct faculty, Kathy Damon, Barbara Darcy, and Dr. Michael Popick. Thank you for all your efforts to our students and to our profession. I would also like to thank Associate Professor and Clinical Coordinator Margaret Janatic and Associate Professor and Clinical Coordinator Colleen Curley, because without these two, we could not succeed without them. At this time, I would also like to recognize Quinsigamond Community College Administration, including Dr. Louis Pedraja, President of Quinsigamond Community College, Dr. James Keene, Vice President of Academic Affairs, and Mr. Pat Schmoll, Dean of Healthcare. Thank you for all you do for our program. Each year, the graduating class has the task of inviting a guest speaker to provide them with inspiring thoughts and words of wisdom as they embark in the world of healthcare. This year, the graduates chose an individual who is an alumni of the QCC Rad Tech program and also the clinical coordinator at the UMass University campus. He has been a great mentor to every student that passes through the university campus, and he has acted as the Buzz Bowl team advisor for the past few years. Unfortunately, the MSRT conference was canceled this year due to COVID-19, and the state Buzz Bowl competition could not take place. But John, with the help of Dave LaValle, continued to hold remote review sessions twice a week on Zoom in order to support the students' preparations to become registered radiologic technologists and help bridge the gap these students experienced when all the classes transitioned remotely. They chose John as their speaker for his leadership, mentorship, and efforts he has imparted towards their education. Let's welcome John Umana.
For those of you that don't know me, my name is Jonathan Umana. I'm the clinical instructor for the second year students from Quinsigamond Community College at UMass Memorial Medical Center University campus. I'm an alumni of QCC, graduating in 2011, and I've been working as a clinical instructor since 2015. First, I just want to say to the class of 2020, congratulations. You did it. And you should all be proud of what you've accomplished. You've all had to overcome various challenges and difficulties in order to get to this day. And you should all be not only proud of yourself, but really you want to just take all of this in. Just be happy, enjoy the moment that you are a graduate, not only of the Radiology Technology program, but soon you'll be taking your registry and you will be a registered technologist. By doing this, you will be joining an exclusive group. It was almost 100 years ago, in 1922, that the AART was formed and that the first registered technologist took their test. Now, almost 100 years later, there are over 330,000 registered technologists in the United States, making us the third largest group of healthcare providers, according to the ARRT website. Really, you should be happy that you're joining such a large group. I thought a lot about what would I talk about for you. What would I try to impart to the class of 2020? And there have been so many great topics throughout the years. I still remember my speech that was given while I was when I was graduating, when I was sitting, probably you're sitting, but when I was sitting, listening to the speech, And the speaker talked about how challenges he had in his first year and how he needed to really take that first year and realize that it's just a continuation of your education, of your growth, and that you're going to learn so much in that first year of working that you just can't get any other way besides just doing the job. There have been other great speeches. I remember we have one speech just focused on just the importance of continuing to learn, have that thirst for knowledge. Whether it means you learning a new modality, going into that cross-training, taking your registry in something like CT or MR, or progressing, getting your next degree, moving on that way, increasing your knowledge. But in any way, we are a knowledge-based program. Our CEUs keep us informed, and we continually are learning and growing as a profession. And so keep that thirst for knowledge strong. That was one of the things that I really appreciated from one of the speeches. And another one that was given, I think you all were there last year, and you heard the speech that really just focused on the idea of taking care of those that you're examining, your patients. Viewing each of them as if they were your grandmother, your brother, your sister, your mom, your dad, your children. And if you have that mentality, you're going to treat each of them as an individual. And you won't, you'll make sure that you have the best care that you can possibly give by having that viewpoint for your, throughout your career. But so I thought about, what am I going to talk about? What can I impart to the class of 2020? And so I thought I would talk about the topic of courage. You may think that's kind of a funny thing to talk about. Why talk about courage for this? It's not necessarily a dangerous profession in the sense of other professions. They need courage because they put their lives on the line. Firefighters, police officers, and individuals like those, they need courage because they put themselves into life-threatening situations. Our job is not the same, but everyone needs courage. Fear and anxiety is something that we all have to deal with to varying levels. And there's a lot of things that can cause you to have fear. Now, I'm talking about the fear that you might get from heights, so maybe you have a fear of spiders or snakes or something like that. I'm not talking about that kind of fear. That kind of fear usually is something you don't have much control over. I'm talking about the fear of the unknown, or the fear that causes you not to act. Because that's really the most dangerous thing about anxiety and fear, is that it can impede us from doing or from acting. So it's important for you to really overcome those fears. And you're going to face challenges that might give you anxiety. It might cause you to stay up at night thinking about these things. Some of those ones that might probably be coming pretty quick if they haven't happened already. You're all getting ready to take your registry soon. That's something that can cause you some fear and anxiety. You're going to have job interviews. You're going to be applying for jobs. You might be starting in a new area, a place that you've never worked before, with individuals that you don't know, with equipment maybe that you've never seen before. All of these things can cause levels of fear and anxiety. You're going to have the point where you're in the OR for the first time by yourself. You're going to reach the point where you're going to be the only tech on the floor. As you progress in your career, you're going to reach the point where you're going to have decisions that need to be made. Do I accept a job that maybe it's less hours, but it's a growth in my career? I can move to CT or the cath lab. Maybe it's moving areas or moving to a different hospital. There are so many decisions that we need to make in our lives that can cause us anxiety. And so it's important, and what I want to impart to you is to don't be afraid of these things, but instead face them. And you have strong reason to be able to do so. Eleanor Roosevelt had this to say. She said, "I believe that anyone can conquer fear by doing the things he fears to do provided he keeps doing them until he gets a record of successful experience behind him. So, as you confront various challenges that might cause you some anxiety, some fear, you can overcome them. Well, why? Think back to the past 2 years. You've already been able to overcome so many challenges, so many things that there may have been a point when you began that you thought, I can never do this. I know for myself that was the case. I remember just my first day of clinical, getting there and clinical instructor talking to us about the job, the profession, what would be expected of us, our clinical assignment, and all those things. And at one point he says, this job isn't for everyone. And he tells us that some people, you might be really smart, but that doesn't equate to being able to actually do the job. And I was thinking on my way home, is that me? Yeah, I've always been able to, do well in school, but, am I gonna, try to do these x-rays and find that I can't do this? And then I remember having to get my first patient. And that was, I never had been in healthcare before, so I was terrified. The idea of even just talking to somebody, complete stranger, getting them from the waiting room, I'm shaking, I'm nervous, I'm tongue-tied, trying to say all the things that you're supposed to say. But I did it. And then things got easier as I kept doing them. The more patients I got to the point where now I don't even think about what I'm going to say. I just grab the rec, I go out, and I get my patient. In the same way, think back to what scared you about this profession. What did you need to overcome? Maybe it was being in clinical. Maybe it was talking to people like me. Maybe your fear was just trying to remember all of the positions, all of the ways that you needed to, all the exam requirements. Worrying, am I going to be able to remember all of these steps? But now remember what helped you get over these things, these fears. It was your friends, it was your family, it was your clinical instructors, it was your instructors in school. All of these people helped you to get through these things. And your hard work and dedication, you were able to accomplish them. And so each time you did it, it got easier and easier. And so in the same way, when you face things that might cause you some anxiety in your professional careers, don't let them stop you. Keep going. Overcome those things. And as you do so, you will be able to find that it will be easier and easier to do it. You might be intimidated still about going to the OR. Keep going. You might be intimidated by a certain exam. You might say, I just really don't like doing this exam. Don't let that stop you from doing it. Don't try to see if others can get to do that exam for you. Do the exam yourself. Because by doing it over and over again, you will overcome that fear. Say that courage is not the absence of fear, but it's the ability to overcome that fear. To still have fear, and yet to not allow that to stop you. So that's what I encourage you to do. Don't let fear stop you. I just want to highlight another part that sometimes it takes a lot of courage to bring out in our professions. Sometimes, unfortunately, you might run into a case where you see something that's not right. Someone's not doing the protocols. Individuals, maybe they're not changing their patients. Maybe they're even doing something that might be putting themselves or patients at risk. It takes a lot of courage to confront that individual about something. And it may even take courage that you might feel that you need to not only speak to that individual, but you might have to talk to your supervisor about this problem or about this situation. It's not something easy to do, But what's going to help you to be able to do these things? Well, it's the same. Talk to your instructors, to those that you trust that can give you, really, don't go gossiping about something. But, go to an individual that you can trust, a former instructor, for instance, one of your teachers. And ask, I saw this happen. What should I do? How can I rectify the situation? How can I make this better? Because the key is taking care of our patients. And that's really what our goal is. If you're noticing somebody's doing something that's is detrimental to patient care, or to perhaps just the atmosphere that we're working in. If you have somebody that's not treating their fellow coworkers well, it's important to not to just sit back and be like, well, that's just the way they are. You need to speak up. You need to do something and have the courage to do it, because it ends up not being good for you. It's not good for your coworkers, and eventually that's also going to affect your patient care. Also, don't be afraid to be you. Do the exams in the way that you know is right. You might do something and other techs might look at you and be like, well, why are you doing that? You don't have to do that. Or you might go the extra mile. You go make sure that your patient, they have a blanket. They need something. You go and you go ask the nurse to go, oh, the patient, they asked for this. Your coworker might be like, well, why are you doing that? They'll get to them. Don't worry. Your patient needs their dressings changed. They need something. They need you. And some techs just say, well, that's not my job. Don't be afraid to say, well, that's okay. This person needs this. I'm going to be there for them. I'm going to help them. Be yourself. Don't let what others do affect how you do things. And that can take courage sometimes, because sometimes you do things that no one else might do. Don't be afraid to do it. Because in reality, in the end, it's your patient care. It's your name maybe going on that exam. It's also, you've introduced yourself. Your name is now associated with that patient's care. That patient's going to say, I remember when this person did this for me. And you might make their day. They may not have felt that anybody's paid attention to them for their whole time that day. You might be the first person that smiles at them, that asks them how they're doing in a legitimate way, in a way that really makes them feel like you want to listen to them. Be that person. Have the courage to be the person that cares. Because so many times, unfortunately in healthcare, because we're busy, because we work long hours, because we all get tired, sometimes we forget that we are taking care of people and that it's important for us to care. Don't be afraid to care. Have the courage to be that person, to be the one that really shows that you really want the best for those that you're taking care of. It's amazing what even just a small smile can make on another person's day. So again, welcome to the profession. You have all worked so hard to get here. Continue with that work ethic. Continue to rely on those that have helped you through this. Continue to grow. And I am confident that the class of 2020 will be successful and that you will be able to be the best that you can be.
Hi everyone. First, I'd like to thank my fellow classmates for electing me as class president. It has been a great pleasure to work with you all and get to know you, and I can guarantee that each lady in this class will bring her own unique talent to the workforce. And thank you so much to our professors and clinical coordinators who helped make this happen. We are all so happy to be here, and we appreciate your efforts over the past 3 months. We were dismissed from our clinical sites right before spring break in mid-March, and there is no way I would have ever believed that we would not be back. So as this pandemic played out, our professors scrambled to move our classes online. Never before had this been done, and I realized you all had to rely on us to do our part, as you all did the best you could to make sensible changes for us. As the past few months unfolded, we did feel a lot of anxiety as we were unsure of how we would be able to finish. And for you to get us ready for the ARRT and ensure that we followed JCERT guidelines along the way, I'm sure it required very careful thought and planning. But you did it and we did it, so congratulations to us all. The first person we would like to recognize is Professor Colleen Curley. Colleen taught us anatomy, CT, positioning, physics. Colleen, thank you so much for your thorough explanations and your optimistic attitude. Professor Curley is always so full of energy and optimism when she lectures, even though she works tirelessly behind the scenes helping our entire class and next year's class to make sure we have everything we need for clinical rotations. Professor Curley also works as a CT tech at UMass University. Colleen, we will all miss your little bag of tricks. And speaking of firsts, this is also our program director's first whole class to graduate. Sue Whittier started in the fall of 2018 with our class, and the QCC Rad Tech program has a long-standing reputation for being one of the best Rad Tech programs in Massachusetts. It's rare that you encounter a technologist working in the field who didn't in fact go through this program. Sue herself even graduated in 1993. A lot of the credit of the success of this program over the past 30 years was given to Sue's predecessor, Linda LaFave. Once Linda retired, I was often asked who took over. Since Sue had been involved as a clinical coordinator for our program, some knew her and some did not. However, everyone said the same thing. Sue has some big shoes to fill. Well, Sue, after this class, congratulations. You are definitely on your way. And Professor Marge Giatic, who visited us during our first year clinical rotation. Thank you for your willingness to think outside of the box. The most important thing Marge taught us was to keep an open mind and always be willing to try new methods. Marge has over 50 years experience as a radiographer and mammographer. She recognized that throughout her career, there have been many changes in the way exams are performed, and they result in better diagnostic studies. She has reminded us all to stay humble and learn to adapt. Marge also came in last week and volunteered herself as a practice patient and as a coordinator so we could simulate our final competency exams and finish the program once and for all. Our class would also like to recognize professors from the first year. Kathy Damon, who taught us medical terminology, radiation science, and some of our labs. She is definitely one of the smartest women you'll ever meet. And thank you to Barbara Darcy, who taught us all we needed to know about patient care. And let's not forget about Dr. Michael Popick. He spent over 40 years as a radiologist, and now he is spending part of his retirement to teach the Rad Tech students pathology and pharmacology. Professors, this is not an easy program, and the fact that you are dedicated year after year really shows your love for this field. We will miss you guys. The past 2 years have been full of so many new and exciting, challenging, exhausting, and fun experiences. I'd like to say that we wouldn't have changed a thing, but that's just not true. So many lives have been affected by this virus, and our work environment is definitely not what we expected. But if we can get through this, guys, we can do anything. All 16 of us are heading right out there fearlessly to help our society heal, and I couldn't be more proud. Good luck to you, friends. And to the class of 2021, hang in there. You have great leaders at QCC.
The Outstanding Student in Radiologic Technology Award is an annual tradition of tonight's program. Each year, the faculty and clinical instructors select that student who best demonstrated a high degree of maturity, creativity, consistency, professionalism, and leadership in their academic and clinical performance. While each of these students is outstanding in their own way, there typically is one that the faculty say, yes, he or she has all the attributes we hope for in a healthcare professional. This year's recipient has demonstrated these qualities from day one without fail, and nothing was going to stop her from completing and being successful in the program. She has been dedicated to her studies, her patients, and classmates, exhibiting genuine care and concern at all times. It is my great pleasure to announce the Outstanding Student Award for the year 2020 to Jennifer Mangrum. Congratulations.
Okay, it's the time we've all been waiting for. It's time for the students to get their pins. This was a very unique year, as you all know. And normally at this time, we'd be inviting all the students on the stage. They would be getting their pins, and this would be a time that you could be applauding them for all their accomplishments. Unfortunately, that is not able to happen this year. But in place of that, we did want to make this a special moment. So what we have done was when the students came into the lab a week or two ago, we did have a special moment with each of the students, and when they were completed all their competencies and required skills, they were presented with their pins. As you can see in the pictures, we had to do this in a social distancing fashion, which we are all getting used to now. So the students are being given their pins. We are 6 feet apart because we have to be social distancing, and we are wearing their masks. But nevertheless, this was still a special moment for these students. So sit back and relax and watch your special graduate receive their pin. Okay, there's one last thing to do. Normally, after the students get pinned, the students would recite the oath of the radiologic technologist together. Due to the constraints of technology, we cannot have all the students speak at the same time. Therefore, the class has nominated one of their classmates, Brooke Brow, as the spokesperson to recite the oath on their behalf.
I do solemnly swear to abide by the Radiologic Technology Code of Ethics. Performance of my duties as a medical imaging professional. That I will endeavor to practice the highest standards of quality and care. Stay current with the practice of radiologic technology. And to hold the public's health and welfare above all else in the practice of my profession.
Thank you, Brooke, for reciting that beautiful oath. This now signifies that you are all radiologic technologists and alumni of the Quinsigamond Community College Radiologic Technology Program. Congratulations, class of 2020. And thank you all for sharing your time in celebration of these graduates.